UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I am Counselor Amy Nelson, and with me is Head of Astrophysics, Joe Keegan. Joe,
No.
I know. Every time you are a different head of something, so I want to know.
The Galaxy Class trope, I will always have a different career choice every week. So I think this week I'm head of cryptocurrency mining. I've set up, because I've been working from home, I've set up my machine to mine Ethereum, which is a cryptocurrency. I'm earning something like $3 a day, but
that's exciting.
I think with the power costs over the month, I'm actually not making anything. I might owe somebody some money.
Right.
So, I think I've been doing lots of reading and lots of research about the blockchain and cryptocurrency and mining, and I'm thinking about building my own mining rig.
Okay.
So lots of GPUs working together to process transactional data from cryptocurrencies, and hopefully I'll be able to retire in a couple of years having made my millions on cryptocurrency.
Just save all of your money so that you have funds to come to STLV. That's all I care about. That's the priority.
That is indeed the priority. That's why I'm doing this, to come and visit you.
Yes.
How are you, Amy?
I'm good. Hey, I got the new Picard, well, really, Deanna and Riker book. I posted that on Twitter, so I'm going to start reading it today. It came this week, and I've just been busy with schoolwork. So looking forward to reading that, and I think we'll do an episode on all good things once I finish. So
very good. That sounds exciting. Cool. Amy, I'm not kind of palpably excited. Do we have perhaps our first guest on Galaxy Class?
We do. We had, because of today's episode, we needed to bring on board Judge Advocate Jason Anderson. Jason, welcome to Galaxy Class.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited.
This is our first guest and your first time as a podcaster. So how's it going?
100% that is true. I have never been on a podcast before, and I also did not have the knowledge that I was the first guest. So I am doubly honored to be here. Thank you for having me. Yes.
Well, we are very glad to have you. Now, we've met in person at STLV, so that's good. All of us have hung out last time.
I'm especially happy to be here with my very close friend, Joe.
And he used my real name. It's the first time in 3 years you've actually used my real name. Oh, yes. I'm so thrilled. Thrilled to bits.
I do have questions about whether or not you think it's appropriate to be the head of cryptocurrency in a civilization that has done away with currency, but we don't even need to delve into that.
Gold-pressed latinum, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so you're mining gold-pressed latinum.
Sure, yeah, I wish I was. I'd be loaded. I wouldn't be podcasting, that's for sure.
I did think, however, this week, at least in the States, it's a good time to be bringing that subject up, being that Reddit took on Wall Street this week.
I read that this morning. There was an awesome story of the people fighting big business. Love it.
Power to the people.
Yeah. Go the people. So Amy, I'm quite excited about this topic because Ewan and I have been kind of binge watching and doing a rewatch of The Good Wife, US legal drama on CBS.
Yes. Oh, yes. Juliana
Margulies. Watching it for Christine Baranski, primarily, because she's awesome in everything that she's in. However, I'm all I could pass the bar. I've watched so many legal drama episodes recently that I'm ready to kind of plead my case or whatever. I want to hear the terms I've been hearing on TV. I want to hear Brady violation and like in my chambers now, both of you, and like a deposition and subpoena, and you've been served.
Do you know what a Brady violation is?
A Brady violation is when evidence is withheld that could support the defense.
That's a discovery violation, but yeah. I mean, it's,
from like the early 60s, wasn't it? Brady versus somebody?
well, okay, yes. Okay, that's fair. But yeah, when the prosecution withholds evidence, I'm not a lawyer, like just to be clear, but when the prosecution, you always have to do that as a non-lawyer working in the legal field. You have to say, I'm not a lawyer. You don't go off my advice. But yeah, that's a discovery violation generally when the prosecution doesn't hand over their evidence.
Key documents. Excellent.
Yeah.
I object.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's valid. That's real.
I'm so excited.
Overruled.
Where's my gap?
Overruled.
Yeah,
Never sustained. Whatever,
Continue.
Joe.
Continue. Yes.
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Yes. Did you take that from Star Trek or from your Good Wife view?
Googling what lawyers say on TV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's check the communication array to see if we have any comments from our listeners.
Logs accessed.
We have a comment from Michael Bentley, our listener, on last week's episode, the Batleth Battle Part 8, where we pitted the perfect mate against...
The Schizoid Man.
Oh, well, we pitted... I did it.
You were there.
I edited it yesterday.
I listened to it. Great listener comment last week. Just saying.
Et moi,
Nilsson. Canadian French.
French Canadian.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Do we know what that means? Or
it was my comment, Amy Nelson.
Oh, well, I did see that you wrote that first person's name looks familiar. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had fun with that because Amy wasn't there, so it's like when the teacher's away, the kids will play. Yes. So Michael's comment is from our Batleth Battle Part 8, where we pitted the perfect mate against the Schizoid Man. And Michael says, despite, and partly because of, its disturbing traffic and story element, the perfect mate is an emotionally and psychologically complex episode, wonderfully acted by the two leads, who have amazing chemistry, and is a masterpiece. Then he goes on to say, I haven't seen the Schizoid Man in years, and don't remember it well at all. Thanks, Michael, because we voted for the Schizoid Man.
So now need to go and watch it again.
Can I comment on the perfect mate, though, real quick?
Sure, yeah.
Famke Janssen?
Yeah.
Jensen was at Star Trek Las Vegas recently. Was it 2019 or
18? Was it 18?
18. And on stage, she said that actually Patrick Stewart taught her one of like a huge lesson for her in acting, that when you're acting close, with camera shot close, and you're looking at your co-star in the eye, apparently she looked from eye to eye. Like and Patrick Stewart said, just a tip, pick an eye, because if you don't, your eyes look all crazy. Like you're filming and you're going the camera can see you're darting from eye to eye. So he's like, and she said to this day, she, thanks him for, that was one of her first real acting jobs, she said, in front of a camera, and she thanked him for teaching that lesson to her. So
that's a good thing to thank Patrick Stewart for, not having crazy eyes on TV.
Yes.
Yeah, right. No one wants crazy eyes.
Well, let's get to today's discussion. You know how when you drink tea and sometimes it leaves a little residual if it stains, like a black tea or, Well, this topic is residual from Earl Grey. We have a listener, Shoaib Mirza. Hi, Shoaib. And he recommended that we have the Court Martial of Picard. And so we have each chosen 3 decisions that we are either going to defend or to prosecute, just sort of have a general discussion talking about some of Picard's more questionable discussions. So, Jason, you first time podcasting. What do you think about this topic and like Picard and his decisions?
Well, I think it's fantastic, actually, that we're having this discussion. Again, thank you for having me on for this discussion. I know this isn't about the books, but I'm assuming maybe you knew that the reason you invited me was that actually, shameless plug for Dayton Ward's Available Light book, which there is the lead up to him being to Picard having a court-martial in Collateral Damage. It actually takes place, which is the following book. Yeah, I am a character, shameless plug, in Available Light, or there's a character named after me in that. But to get to your question about, so pick up Dayton Ward's book, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Available
Nice little plug. Good job.
At your nearest Amazon or local bookstore. Oh, I am very excited about this topic. I will say, I think it's difficult to pick decisions that you don't agree with, where Jean Luc Picard, is the person making the decision, right? Because that's how they wrote him, was that you believe in him. He's a leader. He's, men follow him. And I think that makes it difficult to do bad decisions. But, I tried to pick one that I disagreed with at least. So,
Joe, how did you go about making or finding these picks?
I decided I hated Jean-Luc Picard and I was coming for him. So I'm like proper prosecution mode, yeah.
Oh.
AUSA Keegan here, grand jury, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we're throwing the book at him. He's going down.
Oh, okay. Good.
And then I just thought, what decisions has he made? And I'll decide I don't like them. So.
Yeah, we were talking beforehand, Jason, like we were saying, he's written so that the decisions are right, that we do support him and that, yes, we agree and he's our hero. So it has been challenging. And I just opened up all the lists. I have a Wikipedia and just was scrolling through and it's like, okay, does this work? Does this work? And so I'm very interested. We haven't shared our picks with each other, right, Joe?
No, we haven't.
Okay, just
no
making
clue.
sure.
I can promise you I've not shared my picks with Joe.
No, absolutely
We don't
not.
share.
No,
Yeah.
we don't.
All righty. Well, let's go through. And Jason, let's start with you since you are our guest. Give us your first pick for Decision of Picard.
I have to go first.
Yes, that's the rule because you're a guest.
Okay. Well, I will say the one that I felt like I dived deeper into, so I want to talk about first is the episode The Drumhead, which is the 95th episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, directed by Jonathan Frakes, which I did not know until I actually looked into this episode a little deeper for this. I don't know how much background do you want me to give for the episode? You can
give a synopsis, yeah.
Okay, most people I feel like probably have seen most episodes of The Next Generation if they're listening, but features main guest star, all the Next Generation cast is briefly in that. Actually, although rewatching the episode prior to that, because there was so much focus on the guest stars, there was less, I think, on most of the main cast. But Gene Simmons, rest her soul, guest stars as retired Rear Admiral Nora Settee from the little heard of legal division of the support services section of Starfleet. I don't think I'd actually even heard that before I looked into it. Usually you hear Judge Advocate General's office. I feel like, that's brought up a few times in the series. And then also another guest star is a young Spencer Garrett, who went on to have a pretty healthy career, who we are told is the mostly human but part Vulcan med tech named Simon Tarses. And then there's a Klingon exchange officer who winds up being a spy. And synopsis of the episode, there's an explosion in engineering. Everyone thinks sabotage. And there is some evidence apparently at first that there is sabotage. And then as the episode goes on, Geordi and Data ultimately discover, hey, no sabotage. But between that time and the original start of the episode, there is that Klingon exchange officer who admits to being a spy and transmitting information to the Romulans, and that causes the retired admiral to come out of retirement for this investigation. the reason and then it turns into a full-fledged witch hunt on board the Enterprise, which in my mind, I was trying to think back, I don't think that happened very regularly, that, like actual members of the crew were suspected of being spies and their loyalties questioned, at least in this way. It felt I wanted to bring it up, especially today, because it feels very, what's the word?
Relevant, current. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely relevant and court-martially, it's definitely. So I think what I liked about mostly with Picard, Fight Me, I guess, is that it's hard to stand up to power and to really recognize an abuse of power when it's happening and say, whoa, no, this is wrong. And and he immediately decides to challenge a superior officer. And, ultimately there's an admiral that is a current admiral that comes to kind of observe the hearings that are the witch hunt that's taking place. And I think just for Captain Picard, for anyone, I think to make the decision to stand up for the little guy against, the powers that be. I mean, that's just leadership. That's, the fact that he was able to see through these, relatively intense accusations and say, no, we have to protect his rights. And I actually think, and you guys can give your feedback, but seeing this as a young teenager, whenever I first saw this episode, might have pushed me into the legal venue where I currently have a career in, subconsciously, which I told Spencer Garrett about when I saw him at Star Trek Las Vegas. It was I loved your episode. Might be my favorite episode because of those reasons. So that's my first one. Does anybody have feedback?
Yeah, I was going to say it's really difficult to find anything bad about Picard's decision process there, because you're right behind them all the way. And like you say, it's really difficult to stand up to power. So this retired admiral, she's her father. Who was her father again?
Judge
Aaron Satie, yeah, who's a famous Federation judge. And then she's coming down from this lineage of, imagine, lawyers and judges and law professors. So she's got this weight of the law behind her as well, just because of her lineage. And Captain Picard's just this captain of, yes, the Federation flagship, but he's somewhere down the chain of command from her.
Yes.
But he acts it so well, and what happens to Simon is so wrong that it's hard to be the prosecutor from a viewer's perspective. And I think he clinches it with the line with the first link, the chain is forged, the first speech censured, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, changes us all irrevocably. Those words were uttered by Judge Aaron Satie as wisdom and warning. The first time any man's freedom is trodden on, we're all damaged. I fear that. I fear that. Then he stops. He doesn't get a chance to finish because she's just gone off.
She interrupts.
Yeah.
So you've memorized that episode.
I can honestly say I've heard Joe say that, at least a dozen times.
This is spooky because when I was listening to an episode prior of Data, you had asked a question about what Data, what you think of initially, I think was the question. When you think Joe's answer was my answer then as well. It's spooky that we have that much in common for obvious reasons.
Crazy.
So I would like to question his decision, because as you were talking and saying, yeah, he's standing up and, fighting, and how hard it is to go against Judge Satie, and because she's got obviously the more power and the higher rank. Shouldn't Picard have stopped it sooner? Shouldn't he have protected his crewmates a little bit better? I think he let it on too long, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, of course. But he really should have stopped it sooner. Once Geordi and Data was there was no sabotage, and then separately done their own thing, but not had it all blended together. I think he really has a mistake there by letting everything get mushed together and so combobulated.
If I can respond.
Yes.
Agree with you. And I think he tries, right? Like there are points by which, especially after Geordi and Data figure out what actually happened. But I think going back to your original point, she's the superior officer. And the hard part about standing up in witch hunts, to authority is there's a little bit of possibility, right? She has these reasons like, maybe this wasn't, but you already have an admitted saboteur or admitted spy on board passing information to the Romulans. Do you really think he did it alone? I think she uses that rationale, like, could he have even gotten here by himself? We should probably keep looking. And then he, with Simon, they're able to determine that he lied on his application to Star Trek, which is a really sad, poignant scene, I think, between when Picard is either in Simon Tarse's quarters or vice versa, and they have this conversation about like, this doesn't have to define you. And he's like, no, I made this mistake. It will haunt me for the rest of my life, which I think is something that people with, a criminal history suffer from, like the stigma that is forever once you're accused of a crime, is, I think, analogous to what's happening in the episode. So I think you're right. It would have been great if he could have stopped it, but I think he tried and wasn't able to because of her rank and position.
See, and I think he has a greater duty because he is captain. I mean, it would have been even more difficult for, say, like Geordi. Geordi and Data finished their investigation and still saw this trial going on in persecution and witch hunt. Like, Geordi could have stepped up as well. But I feel like it's more on Picard's shoulder to do that. And so for that, I question him and put him on court-martial.
What would you like the penalty to be if he's successfully convicted of whatever the crime is you're accusing him of, Amy? Because
I have not even thought about crime
my
and
contention
punishment.
my contention is that you don't actually have a case. So I'm like asking the judge for a mistrial. Is that what you say?
Trying to get in those court words.
That legalese. Yeah.
Legalese, yep.
I'm semi-fluent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think obviously a note on his record is, of course, warranted, at least.
But he should have stopped it sooner.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he did a great job of, stopping it when he could.
Yeah.
Same. So, Jason, you and I have overruled Amy then. We won our case.
It'll be a majority, like an appellate court.
Sure.
Right.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, what's your first pick?
My first pick. So, Title 7 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act specifically, it does, don't look at me like that, it specifically protects individuals from being discriminated on grounds of their race when they're at work. And I imagine that these rights have been translated in some way into Federation law and into the 24th century and beyond. So on that basis, I accuse Jean Luc Picard of racism in not protecting or choosing Sito Jaxa purely because she was a Bajoran to go on that away mission that then ultimately resulted in her death.
How?
He should be stripped of command.
Stripped of command?
That is my contention, yes.
So you feel that it was his choice purely because she was Bajoran?
He does say that in the episode. She's the only Bajoran on board at that point and should be the perfect fit for going on this really dangerous mission. She gets brutalized by the Cardassians that capture her as a Federation spy, and they find out that she dies. She's a very junior officer. She's an ensign. She doesn't have that much field experience. She
Almost
should not.
lieutenant.
It doesn't matter. She was still an ensign. She should not have been sent on that mission. Picard has caused the death of another life form through his inability to make good command decisions.
Now, granted, he had to send someone. So the fact that he sent a person and resulted in death, that could have happened to anyone. But you're saying because she was Bajoran, that's what you're going with, that no other person could have satisfied the requirement as well as Ceto Jaxa.
You're saying that he could have sent somebody else, but he chose her in a discriminatory way because of her race.
Indeed, this is my assertion. Yes. He could give it. We've seen many examples in many episodes where people have been surgically altered to look like other species. If they really needed a Bajoran, then they could have used somebody. They could have sent Commander Riker as a Bajoran. What is it? Some nose ridges. He's got experience.
And an earring.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. It's just replicate an earring and stick it on. So, yeah, anybody else would have been a good choice, given more experience, went into dangerous situations.
Did you think about maybe that wasn't the only... I mean, she was an officer in the security division. I guess my thing is, we don't think that he's being discriminatory, like just to use your specialty, like when he picks someone who has a background in astrophysics, be on an away mission and they wind up getting killed. We're not like, oh, he discriminated against that person because they have a background in astrophysics. Like, this was another qualification that was needed for this mission. And he chose her. She's also in security. She's trying to raise, how do you get experience? You go on missions and you do assignments, and she's already in the security division. I don't know. I think you might be oversimplifying his decision process by saying the only reason she was picked. I guess if she was some civilian wife on the Enterprise D, he wouldn't have picked her, is what I'm saying, just because she's Bajoran. She is an officer. She's in the security division.
This is very true. I didn't say my reasons for bringing these charges were very good, but my charges stand nonetheless. I think maybe given the fact that she was so inexperienced, then perhaps start off with being on a multi-person away team to learn. Don't send her at first away mission alone into really dangerous territory where the likelihood of death is high. Bad choice. Give me the keys to the ship, Picard, and get off.
Well, when Picard called her in and was the first time, it was like, disappointed with her, how she behaved for... What was the name of that episode? The accident at Starfleet? First Duty.
First Duty.
Yeah.
But recognize that she's an amazing pilot, well certified. So that had a play. I mean, he obviously was recognizing her talents way back then. So that might have had something to do. And then plus with Worf's, I think, glowing recommendations on how she served under him and with security, I think it might have been more. But oh my gosh, Joe, that is a great process.
We'll say that didn't even occur to me. Yeah, that's a good...
Sorry, guys, I've just received some documents. We want to bring further charges against Jean Luc Picard for the death of Ceto Jaxa on the grounds that he acted to punish her for what she did in the episode The First Duty. So in addition to choosing her because she was Bajoran, he also decided to punish her for her actions. So yeah, this is very damning. Very damning.
Going down, yeah.
It's very damning. That was a test, obviously, also,
Man, that's so good. I don't want to go after that.
On you go, I'm excited.
Good.
Do we have to vote? Because I feel like it's pretty clear that...
Joe makes a very compelling argument.
I'm going to say no. I think that there was a factor, but I don't think it was the only factor. That she was Bajoran.
And so, Joe, what is the punishment you are asking for?
Oh, he loses command.
Yeah.
Oh, loses command.
The actual
Completely
keys to the ship. Yeah.
Kicked out of Starfleet.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, not kicked out. It's like he can stay in Starfleet, but he loses command of the flagship. He serves on a garbage scow.
No, we all know that there were Maquis members who were not Bajoran. There were other. Mm-hmm. It was solely because he was Bajoran. She was Bajoran.
Okay, so I'm for conviction.
Good argument.
Amy?
All right.
Amy, did you vote?
Oh, I'm going to go with you, Joe, on that. You've made a very good argument.
You're voting he should lose command of the Enterprise.
He's guilty.
Based on this.
Jason, it's a TV show.
Yeah, I know. I'm very upset about him losing his command in real life. Like, this is hurtful.
Wow, that's a great pick. Oh my gosh, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, so I am putting Picard on trial for his choice to accept the arbiter of succession to the Klingon Empire at Kempek's request. He should have absolutely denied that. It is a clear conflict of interest. His duty is to the Federation. And for him to be supposedly doing what is best for the Klingon Empire, number one is false pretenses, because his duty is to Starfleet, to the Federation. So he can't do what's best for the Klingon Empire, therefore making it a clear conflict of interest. And he should not have taken that position.
I think we have to mull this over for a small amount of time.
I guess the first thing that jumps out to me is you're assuming that what's in the best interest of the Klingon Empire is not what's in the best interest of the Federation, which is his duty. So I would say that he decided to do that because he knew that, which I think is, part of the rationale, like having a strong and appropriate and qualified leader of the Klingon Empire is best for the Federation. Yeah.
Well, I think it happened to overlap, but in case that it didn't, he really shouldn't have been in that position. He should not have allowed himself to be in that conflict of interest. I agree. I mean, had it been Gowron and someone else, right, that maybe wanted more of an isolationist, like keeping the Klingon Empire closed, that could be just fine for the Klingon Empire, but not in the best interest of Starfleet. And so if Picard, if he had that power to sway the entire empire, that's too much power and too much persuasion that could have ended up very poorly.
I'm agreeing with you, Amy.
Yeah, that's tough.
It just happened to be the case that it didn't become so much of a conflict, that the Federation goals and the Klingon Empire goals were aligned to an extent. However, if he had continued to be arbiter of succession, there would be many instances where it would have been a conflict and he would have found himself in on a very slippery slope to kind of not serving either side.
Yeah, if it wasn't Doros, it was clear that Doros, the line and the family and the history and stuff was not a good choice. But what if it had been someone else? He just should not have allowed himself to be put in that position. So he is guilty.
But he was the choice, and by the Klingon, whatever they said, the former
Kempek,
the former chancellor, gets to decide who the arbiter of succession is. So you're just saying it was a conflict for him to even accept it, even though that was the Klingon tradition.
Absolutely. Kempek could have made the request. Kempek can't force him to do it.
I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wound up not even being really an issue because, Doris was killed prior, So.
Only because Picard was smart enough to go to the historical rituals instead of the current ones. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, of course, it all turned out great. We love Picard for doing that, but that's my case against him there.
And Gowron was fine as a chancellor until Deep Space Nine.
So we agree he's guilty there, all three of us?
I do think it was a conflict of interest. I don't know if he deserves to be court-martialed for it, but,
A court-martial purely serves to seek the truth. If the truth finds that he's innocent of any wrongdoing, then so be it. But court-martialed he will be.
Okay, yeah, I think we have a unanimous decision on that one. That was a bad decision.
All right. Okay, Jason, on to your second pick.
My second pick for Captain Picard's, or JL, as he's now known, and I know him, he loves that.
Eye roll, listeners, in case you missed it.
Mega eye roll.
Yes, no, I saw it. I did see it. And I knew that, I would assume that even after reading that first, what was it? I always think of A New Hope, which is the first Star Wars movie, not the first Star Trek Picard, but A Last Hope or whatever. I don't know what.
The Last Hope.
I thought maybe you would appreciate JL a little bit better after that book.
I've tried. It still rubs me the wrong way.
So I racked my brain to get an argue against, because, obviously, as we said, he's not written. So, he has a lot of really poor decisions that he made. But the one that came to mind, because we're allowed to use movies, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is Jean Luc Picard's vendetta against the Borg in First Contact. And I think it's a pretty clear, I don't know if conflict of interest. I think PTSD, that term is thrown around regularly or maybe too often, but it's pretty clear that he's having a post-traumatic stress disorder reaction to being involved with the Borg, which actually, at the beginning of the movie, the Federation attempts to keep the Enterprise out of the fight because he is, I think they call it, an unstable element when it comes to the Borg. Turns out they were correct. He did wind up being an unstable element. And after he does get involved at the planet Earth, they're transported back in time, and the Borg get on the ship, start assimilating the crew in the ship. But it's clear that even though, I want to do a special shout out to Dr. Beverly Crusher, who was a fantastic executive officer, after Riker went to with your friend, or with your role model, Deanna Troi.
Yes.
I think she tried to talk him out of it. She tried to push back on some of his crazy, vengeful orders and, bring him, to reality. And obviously he was willing to sacrifice everyone, in order to stop the Borg and keep the ship. And we all know that scene where he actually ultimately comes to his senses. But I would pose that, much like our court-martial of Picard for not stopping the trial sooner in Drumhead, or your assertion, I think he should have come to his senses far sooner and realized what was going on far sooner and stopped behaving so meatheady,
Yeah, I agree with you, because not only Beverly, but Worf. And they've got that history, and Worf's like, if you were any other man, I would kill you.
Strike you down.
Yeah. And it was even Worf and all of that wrapped up, he just was still on this rampage, just driven by revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So, to counter your unfair accusations against our beloved captain,
I'm shocked you disagree with me, Joe.
If it wasn't for his actions in taking the Enterprise to protect the heart of the Federation that is Earth, because the Federation fleet that was protecting Earth was crumbling just with one Borg ship. And it took the Enterprise and Picard's knowledge to destroy that Borg ship. And the only thing that he was making that decision to save Earth locked him in to that course of action. And to convict somebody because they're having a PTSD reaction, which is no fault of their own, is a travesty of justice.
Are you allowed? I appreciate your legal terms. Are you allowed, though, as captain of the flagship of the Federation, to have, that kind of break in judgment? I think you're right. It was a reaction to his post-traumatic stress, but I think we have to hold him to a higher standard.
Would you rather the unfathomable loss of life if the Enterprise stood on the neutral zone looking for neutrinos and comet trails?
If we're going to start judging things in hindsight, everything in Star Trek turns out okay, so we can, ultimately wait for what happened and say, yeah, he did the right thing. But I'm saying at the time, he should have stopped it much sooner. Also, plot hole that I had never really thought about, and I know there's been a lot of discussion, of course, through the years of the plot holes in First Contact, but so why didn't the Borg...
Your Honor, I object. Counsel is testifying.
Back in time in their territory and then scoot on, travel to Earth unobstructed, straight to Earth, and just destroy the planet like they did with so many other planets. I don't understand why in Picard's time they had to fight through the Federation, which wasn't even in existence at the point at which they were going back in time to. You know what I'm saying? Why did they not go back in time in their territory and then travel to Earth? Why did they do that?
To go back to the Delta Quadrant where they were from and then...
or wherever, not near Earth. You don't have to be near Earth to go back in time. That wasn't the point, was it? That just seemed like a plot hole that I had never thought about.
No, you're right. They could have, they could have opened their temporal vortex in Borg space and then used
gone to Earth.
Okay, I don't think that's a plot hole because, so for example, like if I wanted to go back in time and change a specific event, so then why would I transport myself all the way to, say, Utah, where I'm from? Then I'd have to travel all the way to Texas. I'm like, if I have that capability, let me just go right there. But so then I can take care of business.
You would do it where you were in Vegas because you don't want to fight the Federation, which isn't in existence when you go back in time. You still have the capability to travel to Earth.
I know, but then that's, wasting time. And like my main objective is to, save JFK, right? If that's my objective, then why am I going to go back and then travel and blah, blah, blah. It's like, let's just go get the deed done. Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Drop me in Dallas. That's where I'm going.
I'm saying path of least resistance would have been not to challenge the Federation in the 24th century and to go back in time when... Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. That was just a plot hole that occurred to me that I hadn't actually... Or I felt was a plot hole. But anyway.
The Borg Queen did it for love of Jean Luc. If they'd travelled back in time and then through Federation space, which wouldn't have been in existence, then the Borg Queen would not have had her beloved.
Well, I don't know if Picard and his strong revenge and PTSD is enough. I see where you're coming, and but I still think it was that passion and his, Moby Dick moment that made him the right man for the job.
Yes, I actually love, I know Joe likes to do the quotes, Alfred Woodard saying, blow up the damn ship. He's like, no. And then he's to Memory Alpha, and I could not come up with a better terminology. He rage smashes the observation lounge, which is an appropriate term as far as I'm concerned. Rage smashes all the ships, and she's like, you broke your little ships.
Broke your little ships.
Yeah, I loved that.
Well, great pick, Jason. Are we voting on this one? Is he guilty, not guilty? Joe, what say ye?
He's not guilty. He saved the Federation yet again.
He's always going to save the Federation.
I'm going to say not guilty. I think he had it enough in control that he was still effective.
That was my only strong argument against Jean Luc Picard, and you've now shot me down.
That was a great pick, though.
Jason would have us all speak in Borg.
Yeah. And it would be a much more orderly society. I don't know if you've looked around at what's going on.
Well, yeah.
All right, Joe, give us your second pick.
Okay, to change tack for a moment and jump to the prosecution side. Jean-Luc Picard is guilty of the most heinous of crimes in refusing to upload the fractal problem for the Borg drone Hugh to solve. He is responsible for untold loss of life and starship. He's responsible for all the deaths in Sector 001 as depicted in the movie First Contact that we've just spoken about. He's responsible for the Borg continue to rampage throughout the universe and throughout the whole Milky Way galaxy. If it wasn't for Admiral Catherine Janeway destroying the Borg ultimately, then Picard's actions would have had them way more powerful than they needed to be.
I just want to go on record that I now no longer have a third one.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
So,
Stole a pick.
Yeah, stole mine. Yeah. But I would also argue, though, that the thing that I liked most, if I can just jump on yours, because it was the third one, is that I appreciated this argument or this, reasoning, because this, I think, as you alluded to, this decision or this, this controversy in this episode, Borg, which is what you're talking about, the paradox that he refuses to introduce into Hugh, right? That decision has lasting effects, at least every time the Borg are in play. But I think, unlike most big, huge decisions that he has to make in each episode that you hear of once, like it's a big deal for that episode and you never hear of it again, I liked this decision because it has lasting repercussions throughout not just the series, but then the movies, and then ultimately the Picard series too.
I think the only thing I can think in his defence is if it wasn't for the Borg, then Voyager would still not be home. How many individuals throughout the galaxy is Jean Luc Picard responsible for assimilating and killing because of his inability to act? Because he couldn't do what needed to be done. He was a coward. He couldn't handle the truth. He's guilty.
I would like to bring up a little episode called The Survivors, where Kevin Uxbridge, in his power, remember the Dowd, took out an entire species. And Picard saying, there is no law, there is no punishment for that. That is the worst thing possible. So you have that, and you're asking Picard to do the exact same thing by destroying an entire species? Mm-hmm. That is unacceptable. Picard absolutely did the right thing. There were deaths. There's going to be deaths. But you cannot eliminate an entire species because you don't know. I mean, think about our extinction, like what that causes just on our little planet. What is that going to do to eliminate an entire species? You don't know the ramifications. That is too grand of scale. He did the right thing.
I would say, I'm glad you brought up Kevin Uxbridge because I was going to bring up Thanos. I don't know if you see, because I just couldn't come up with, I didn't think of that actual example, but I agree. And he only killed half the population of the universe in a mass extinction, societal event. But I actually, ultimately, I think I agree with you. Picard made the correct decision. That is where I landed ultimately in my own argument too, but because I think you cannot say, and what's interesting, I was just rewatching this episode too, is everyone, including Counselor Troy and Guinan, who is known for her wisdom and knowledge, is like pushing back on Picard for, picking up this Borg and trying to save his life when really, so like everyone's against, except for Beverly Crusher, who's like, you can't do this. This is wrong from the beginning. I agree. I think he ultimately made the right decision, but it was a really tough decision. You can't blink out an entire species. Like, it's just unacceptable.
My counter to that is that it's not an entire species. It's more like a virus. It's a collection of individuals who have been brought together from multiple species, violently brought together.
So because the Borg does it, we should do it, is your argument.
Genocide is very specifically defined in the UN articles on human rights. And you'll find that genocide is to attempt to take out an entire species. This is not the case because the Borg is not just one species. It's because they've been assimilated from multiple species. So say the Borg drones entirely comprised of humans and Klingons. To destroy the Borg, you would not destroy all humans and you would not destroy all Klingons. You would destroy the Borg, okay? An invasive virus-like species that causes nothing but devastation and destruction and harm throughout the universe wherever they go, so they deserved to be vanquished.
Okay,
Click
I'm
that-
going to ask
click
you
that
as your
gauntlet.
scientist,
Mm-hmm.
say like Kalar, half human, half Klingon. Is that a new species? Now, assuming that we have a whole bunch of these half human, half Klingon, and they progress and get to the point of a civilization, are you going to take them out because they're not an original species? Just because they were created, they were taken a human and a Klingon?
Or they're, in your view, now a destructive species, or, like, do you get to pass judgment on an entire culture and species because they're different than you?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Okay. As long as we're putting
As long as we're clear. Yeah.
yeah.
As long as you know how I really feel.
That's a very good argument, Joe. That was very good.
Yeah, that was mine. I absolutely, or that wasn't my argument, but I absolutely think, and I wanted to bring up, part of it coming up again and again is Nechayev. Admiral Nechayev comes and says in Dissent Part 1, your priority is the safeguard of the lives of Federation citizens, not to wrestle with your conscience. He's like, you should have made this call and exposed the Borg to this paradox.
That's what makes her a bad admiral in my book.
A bad admiral. Yeah.
We're just going to throw out my second pick
Yes.
from recently listening to your podcast last week, The Perfect Mate. And it was in part because of Michael Bentley's comment with the human trafficking issue. And so Picard allowed Kamala to be treated as this object, as a gift, and allowed this sale, if you would. And especially, like, that's wrong in the first place. But then, given the fact that she imprinted with Picard, and so the rest of her life, because once she imprints, she's with that mate, and now she's not going to be with Picard, with some asshat, for the rest of her life. Like, he is not only allowing this to happen, this object, this gift of a human person, but she's going to be imprinted on the wrong person. So it's basically sentencing her to a life of hell with that stupid guy.
Your Honour, could I call a witness to the stand, please?
Please.
The defence calls Amy Nelson to the stand.
I was worried about this.
Amy Nelson, are you going to tell the truth?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing?
On my DS9. Sure.
Okay. Would you, on a personal level, would you deny the inalienable human rights to cultural identity to anyone?
You can't put me on the stand because I have been on record of defending. It's her choice. I get it. And it's her choice. And she's a grown adult.
Yeah.
I
But
rest my
Picard
case.
could have tried to have stopped it.
I think he did, right?
No,
Like,
he did not.
definitely gave her the choice. Like, you don't have to do this, right? It's been a long time since I've seen that episode.
That is
but I
true.
believe
He did
I
give her the
remember
choice.
him
Oh, and Joe,
saying-
remember the deleted scenes?
Oh, yes, I spoke about that in the episode.
Yeah.
Deleted scene where it would have changed TNG forever, but because Kamala's imprinted on Picard basically professes his undying love for her, and she decides to stay on board and not marry Ulrich Volt or whatever his name is. And Picard says, "Oh, I'll deal with all the ramifications of you not being given as a gift. You can stay with me,
Can
Captain's
you
wife."
believe that? Deleted scene. It was shot.
They actually filmed
That's
that.
not real.
Yes, it
As
is.
it was, they filmed it. It's
on the
it's very
Blu-ray
real.
set.
As a joke, like, they filmed this scene because they have had
Give them
to.
options. Maybe
Yeah.
they didn't know where they
Right.
were going to go ultimately.
Yeah,
Check
Huh.
it out, Jason.
I will.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's what I had to discount that deleted scene when I made my decision about what to choose, the Schizoid Man or the Perfect Mate. because that you kind of watch the episode, but with both endings now. I can only see both endings, and so it makes it a much fuller episode and much richer.
And I like the discussion that Picard and Beverly have, in part because Picard's like, there's a thing called arranged marriages, and that's cultural and it's accepted. And is it bad? Is it fine? That's a judgment call. So I don't knock arranged marriages, but I don't know because I've not been in one.
Right. I actually was going to bring up the point that I think she knowingly decided that this is what she needed to do for her people, and it was her choice, obviously I think part of empowering victims of human trafficking, domestic violence, all those things, is to actually give them the choice of what they want to do with their life. It's not somebody else's decision. That's what they've been living under for far too long. So I guess I agree. The optics are bad, right? Like that he's transporting a mail order bride, to a guy who isn't going to appreciate her. And now you're right. She, on top of that, now has imprinted on someone else happening to be Captain Picard. But I think she gets to make that determination if she thinks that's what she has to do to save her people.
And so then you get into the question, because she says she was raised from birth to do this. So is this a cult-like situation? Does she really have a choice because it was so ingrained in her that there really was no other choice? You get into that debate as well, because she was groomed to be the perfect mate.
Well, not only that, she wasn't even supposed to be awake. Like the entire, she was in a cocoon or whatever the entire time, right? So, yeah, that adds credibility to your argument. Is she fully aware of her options, being that she has lived this sheltered life?
All right, Joe.
Yeah, I can't go. You took my third one.
We covered, yes. So, Joe, your third pick.
Sorry, Justin, your first time podcasting and I steal one of your picks.
That's okay. I mean, it made me have to, even though I had to go first, it made me have less stress. Now I don't.
So I've thought very much, I've taken a holistic view of these charges, of the actions of Jean Luc Picard. And the more you look at his actions throughout the 179 movies, throughout the 179 episodes in 4 movies, you can but see that his management of the Enterprise is grossly inept. He demonstrates poor leadership to every turn. His lack of knowledge of the actions of his subordinates are beyond the pale. How many times have we seen the Enterprise or its crew being taken over or infiltrated? It's like happens all the time. What is the man doing? It's the least. How many times have people actually got to the bridge? With one phaser shot on wide beam, you could take out the entire bridge crew and take over the ship. But people just walk on a turbo lift anywhere, say bridge, and it takes them there. It's the least secure Federation flagship that there has ever been. He's not a fit person to be in charge of the ship. And we have the entire record of the Next Generation as evidence against him. And the evidence, I say, is absolutely damning. There is no defence of his actions from any episode anywhere. He deserves the most severe penalties that still exist in the annals of Federation justice, and that is transportation to energy.
Did you say he's not a fit person, or
he's fit looking? Yeah, for being nearly 80. But
I know
like,
it's.
fit,
I'm
fit
literally making fun of your accent. It sounds like you're saying he's not a fat person.
Well, that's just the way I speak, Jason.
Yeah. Anyway, so your third argument, I'm assuming, is just something that you threw together on the spot because there's no specific.
I was literally
example.
Just stringing words together in my mind in a vaguely legalese fashion.
Yeah, it was impressive for on the spot. I'm not gonna. You were just saying in the totality of the circumstances, we look at everything in the whole. He's a bad captain. And he should be
awful.
murdered.
The worst.
I don't think that you can say that because you are making a comparison to other ships in the Federation. And with the Enterprise D being the flagship, they are going to be more often in dangerous situations, more often the target from every other enemy. Like, they are in a unique situation. And so what has been done is you can't judge that or compare that to any other ship in Starfleet.
Your Honour, that issue is not being argued at the moment. The argument is that given the fact that they are the Federation flagship and they have to be more secure, they're going to be exposed to more enemies, more attacks, more attempts at infiltration, then we really need somebody that's fit for the job. Not fat, but fit for the job. Fit of mind, sound-minded, able to make the decisions that are necessary. And he wasn't capable of that.
I'd like to have the court reporter read back a statement by Keegan from earlier in the episode where he said, it's a TV show. And thus
that's what the court reporter does.
Yeah,
there's just two buttons on that thing.
It's stenographer is the official.
So you're judging Picard and you're putting him on court-martial because of the actions of our enemies. And that is not fair. The fact that the enemies came and targeted the Enterprise, right, is going to happen. And so what he did after to prevent the Enterprise D from being taken over completely, right, or whatever, like that is the actions of our enemies. That is not his. Absolutely. It is not a consequence. It is not causality.
And shouldn't you argue, actually, that given the fact that there were so many events that called into question the security of the Enterprise, the fact that it remained in the control of the Federation never actually was, obtained by the Klingon Empire or the Romulan Empire or the Cardassian Union, so like you could actually say he's a fantastic captain, considering they never actually lost the ship.
Agreed. Here.
Given the fact that the enemies got as far as they did and there wasn't more security barriers in place, his ineptitude is astounding.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Disagree.
Disagree. Amy, do you have a third?
I do.
Okay, good.
And I am putting his character on court-martial. Again, sort of a totality. Picard never gave Beverly a shot. Never risked it. He was too cautious. He was so chicken. He was afraid. And for him to be showing, I'm this bold captain. I make great choices and I send people and I'm in command. And then to have his personal life be such in shambles that he's not even going to risk getting into a romantic relationship with someone, who he trusts, that wouldn't ever hurt him. That, why didn't he? I put that decision up.
This brings me to a little known fact, a rumor that I had never actually heard, that part of the original plot was that Wesley was going to wind up being Picard and Crusher's love child. Did you ever hear this rumor?
No.
New to me.
I read it on that the reason they played it the way they did it in the first couple of seasons was because apparently there's a rumor, internet, don't believe what you read, obviously, but that apparently there is this possibility or probability that they were going to reveal that Beverly and Picard had a thing while she was married to his Jack, and that he's actually their love child. So anyway, but that has nothing to do with your argument. I just read that and thought that was incredibly weird. I'd never even heard that. I agree. I think that if nothing else, the Picard-Troy relationship that you will see about. What's that?
Picard Crusher. You said Troy.
Oh, no, I meant Riker Troy.
Oh, okay.
Troy
Start over.
Relationship. Yeah, Freudian slip there. That you will soon read about in the new novel that you said at the start that you recently purchased. You will see that you can make it work, to your point, and that you're right. It is unfortunate, if nothing else, that Picard and Crusher never had a chance or never gave it a chance.
He never even tried. And that's a shame for him to chicken out like that. Joe?
I know, I think it's all wishful thinking as fans that we want to see Picard and Crusher together. However, Amy, as prosecutor, what articles of the Starfleet Code of Conduct are you charging him? Or are you just attacking his sexual preferences?
Well, I'm attacking that if he's claiming to be so bold and in command and making all the decisions, that he didn't make this decision in his life. That's all I got. Like I said, my third pick was a stretch.
Yeah.
Not as bad as Joe's, though. And, yeah.
I'm offended.
Oh, we're going to have Jason back.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
All right, well, let's get to our final thoughts. Jason, how do you think this whole court-martial thing went?
Great. This was really fun. And I think, as we said in the beginning, it's hard to attack JL for much because he is the epitome of grace and cool under fire and sound decision making. And, he is the leader that we all would hope to have in our lives or learn from, as his crew did. So I think, we did the best we could in a situation that is at the start a very difficult one, which is court-martial Jean Luc Picard. Yeah, but thank you.
I think we have to have a disclaimer at the end of this episode that we were, as huge TNG fans, we were all acting as devil's advocate. We're all going to nitpick and find the most obscure and obtuse arguments against Jean-Luc Picard.
To avoid hate mail is what you're saying.
Exactly, yes. Or death threats at STLV. Yeah. Disclaimer, like the words you hear spoken in this podcast are not necessarily the views represented by the podcast creators. So,
or our actual views.
Yeah. They bear no resemblance to true events. Really interesting conversation, and it's nice to have Jason on as our first guest on Galaxy Class. That was awesome.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the picks that we came up and quite surprised that only one of them was duplicated. So well done for everyone being creative and thinking outside of the box. And it was difficult and trying to find something to nitpick again because JL, I can't even say that. Wash my mouth out with soap. Because, Jean-Luc definitely shows us positive ways and constructive ways to make decisions and trust others and think about the big picture. I think in all of these examples, we've seen that. So, Jason, thank you so much. Spur of the moment. Really appreciate you jumping in.
Yes.
Thank you. Where can people find you and continue this discussion on JL, as you so lovingly call him?
Yeah, well, I would love it if people found me on Twitter just because I don't have a lot of Twitter followers. And I have my Twitter is only regulated for Star Trek, which is JAA5280 is my handle on Twitter. But I'm also on Instagram, Jason Anderson. But I think it's Anderson5280 on Instagram. Also Facebook, connected to these
Federation.
guys. Yeah, and the Federation, which we are all members of. Very lovely Facebook group. Which
are you in the Federation Council chambers as well?
I am also in the Federation Council chambers. Yes, exactly. And yeah, admin of the Federation, not to be confused with the Federation Council, co-admin with some of our friends as well. So, but thank you so much for having me. I want to just put that out there. This has been a real treat. I really appreciate it.
Incoming transmission.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show and hope you'll join the Facebook group Federation Council Chambers. You're welcome to start conversations with us or add any general Star Trek info you want to share with the group.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can email the network at contact@ufp.earth, and we might read your email on the show.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching United Federation of Podcasts. This way, you won't miss any of our fine shows like All Good Things, Franchise Fatigue, Always Hold On to Arrow, General Quarters, Mickey's Marvels, Infinite Diversity, and Trek Pod. So, Joe, where can people find you when you are prosecuting Jean Luc Picard?
Well, do you know what? I think it's a privilege to act for the law and uphold the law. So I will be out gathering evidence for the best case that I can make against the heinous crimes that Captain Jean-Luc Picard has committed throughout his many years of poor service in Starfleet.
As you said, a court-martial is getting to the truth.
Exactly. So when I'm not doing that, you can find me on Twitter at JoeyJoe77UK. You can get me on the Federation Council Chambers, or you can email me, joepodcasts@gmail.com. And Amy, where can people find you when you're not drunk at the bar after losing your next case?
Just as long as I'm, Troy drunk, that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to bring that up because we talked about First Contact.
Yeah.
Well, my professional opinion is that he is guilty. Let me flip the hair as she does.
Nice.
Oh, well, you can find me here on the network hosting All Good Things with my good friend Pat Devlin. You can also find me on Union Federation Podcast, where I talk Orville and New Star Trek. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, and of course in our Federation Council Chambers on Facebook.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron on the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/UFPEarth to get all the details. We have 4 different levels starting at just $1 per month and would appreciate any support you can give us. So, Joe, how much is that $1 in Bitcoin?
One Bitcoin is like 22,000 British pounds, which is something like $30,000. So one Bitcoin
just
is
give
worth
us
a lot
one
of money.
Bitcoin then. We'll be happy.
Just one. I'll be okay with that. Yeah. We'd like to recognise our executive producers, Brandon Shimutala, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore and Tony Robinson. We'd also like to thank Zach Tripp for our opening and closing music and Tony Robinson for our amazing artwork.
Thank you for bringing aboard the Galaxy class. And until next time.
If you're going to use this person to destroy his race, you should at least look him in the eye once before you do it, because I'm not sure he is still a Borg.
Great joy and gratitude.
Engage.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.